Hold on a second.
All right, we are going live. Oh my God, it's just getting worse and worse. At least he put a shirt on that doesn't show off his chest and everything today.
That's right.
All right. So the great Mark Puttenvink, Patriot Training Systems is his business. He trains everybody. Him and I have become very good friends, I guess, over the last couple of years here now.
Yeah.
Right? Like we met each other. I tell a story all the time.
Over 2 years, I think.
Yeah. We saw each other on Facebook. I didn't realize Mark had trained the New York Rangers many years ago. Actually, when my old college roommate Walt Kyle was his assistant.
Yeah, coach. Great guy.
Yeah, he actually was funny. He got inducted into the Northern Michigan University Sports Hall of Fame recently, and his brother sent me the video of him with the acceptance speech. And we were really good friends. And I didn't know this whole story, but Walt came in. So I started there as a freshman, the first year they had a program. The next year, Walt's brother John came in. Walt then transferred the following year from Boston College, I believe.
BC, yeah.
Right. And then so he had to sit out a year, and then we became. But during that year, we even did play. We like Walt and John and I all lived together and everything, did everything together. And I guess Coach Rick Comley at the time said, "Listen, he's talking to Walt. He says, Walt, listen, there's clearly no question Tom Laidlaw is the leader of this hockey team, but your job is to lead him in the right direction because he's got a little bit of a wild streak to him." Yeah. So I guess the first weekend we'd gone to some Marquette, Michigan is this tough mining town where miners coming in. They got an Air Force base there close by, so those guys are coming in. So I guess we had a place called I can't remember. It doesn't matter. We had some drinking establishment, and we got into a big brawl with a bunch of the Air Force guys. Oh, which we should not have done. Obviously, we should be fighting off the ice. So Coach Comley calls in Walt in the Saturday morning into his office. He says, "What happened? I thought you were going to take care of things." He says, "Well, you told me to follow Tom, whatever."
Follow Tom's lead.
Oh yeah, it was pretty funny.
Well, the other connection besides Walt that I had to Northern Michigan is the Olympic boxing, the boxing program. So the U.S. Olympic team would choose certain fighters to go to school there on scholarship, basically, and train with Al Mitchell, who's I've worked with in the past, was the head coach of the program back then. So there's a few fighters I trained that went there, and they were kids from Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, and they're like the culture shock with the cold. But they actually, I guess Rick Comley was the coach. He brought them on the ice, and then the hockey kids had to go into the boxing gym. So.
Oh, it's funny stuff. Yeah, it's funny. I think back to those days too. So they obviously had not had a team there before our first year,
right?
So we really didn't know what to expect from hockey players. So they put us in the quiet hall. It's called Payne Hall. So it wasn't supposed to be any noise. You couldn't make any noise in your room that would go out.
Yeah, good luck.
So it was like a challenge to do the exact opposite. We had a guy, funny guy. I can't remember why he did this, but he had this big stereo system, and it was one of those quads, set up in a quad. So he
speakers.
He put the speakers out the window and just cranked it, and he kind of jimmied his door so they couldn't unlock the door. So he was saying that they finally got smart. They went to the circuit breaker, turned the power off to his room. So he got in a little bit of trouble because that a couple of weeks went by. Same thing must have happened. So he does the same thing again. This time he'd gone to the circuit breaker with a lock in it, and he put a toothpick in there and broke the toothpick off, so he couldn't put the key in. So he sat there for hours with his music blaring. It was just we did some of the goofiest stuff back then. It was funny.
Yeah, it's fun times, man.
Yeah. So the entire month is it military appreciation? No, it's Veterans Month.
Well, it's Veterans Day. Military Appreciation Week is actually in March.
Right.
Yeah.
So so Mark played in a fantastic tournament with his veterans hockey team. Yeah. You were in New Jersey playing the tournament, right?
Well, it was actually Philly's tournament. Philadelphia Flyers put it on, but the rinks are in Voorhees at the Flyers practice facility.
Right.
So there were, I think, 36 teams. I think there were 6 different tiers, and there's really not a big gap between all the tiers. I think they just got to split them up into groups of 4 so you can kind of play each other.
Right. Is this a yearly thing? They do it every year?
Yeah, this is the Warrior Classic. The very first one we went to was in Las Vegas, which was great.
Oh, nice.
We were out there. There was an entertainer who wrote a check for the ice time for the whole tournament. And it's Vegas, so it was a great experience for everybody.
Right.
COVID, of course, was a dead year. So this is the first one since Vegas in 2019.
Right.
And so we went down there. We played Carolina Friday, beat them pretty bad, lost to Dallas, and then we ended up playing Dallas in the finals in the championship game on Saturday because we had the same record.
Right.
And a little bit of a tragic event occurred. So we played them Friday, and when I got to the rink Saturday morning, we were approached by USA Hockey, and they let us know that one of the Dallas players had passed away after the game. They had one female player, and that was this young girl by the name of Jessica Raab, R-A-A-B, and she apparently had an embolism and passed away. So it was a pretty emotional event, and we, my vice president Ted and I talked it over, and we said, look, why don't we go to Dallas? We'll say, listen, we understand if you're too emotional to play, we'll forfeit and give you guys the championship. And they were very appreciative of that, but they wanted to play. We ended up playing to a 6-6 tie, and they won in a 3-man shootout. So it worked out, out. But it was pretty emotional time. But we had a great time. The tournament's a lot of fun.
I bet that would be a very patriotic thing to participate in, right? Like all the
oh yeah. Well, it really is. And Mission Barbecue, which I don't know if you've ever had Mission Barbecue, and I'm not plugging them, but I will anyhow.
Yeah.
There's none around here. I think there were only 1 or 2 down in that area. It's a veteran-owned business, and they catered our dinner for the whole team Friday night back at the hotel. And the food was amazing.
Yeah.
It was so good. I went back there Saturday night for dinner again after.
Oh, did you? Nice.
Yeah, it was really good stuff. And when you go into their Mission Barbecue, it's totally veteran pictures everywhere. And only easy day was yesterday.
I love that. I love that.
So it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's and they were really, really very cordial and gave us a ton of food. Yeah,
barbecue. I haven't had good barbecue.
Man, they have smokehouse salmon. And I eat salmon because it's healthy, but it's not like my favorite. That I could eat 8 days a week. It was so good. Right? Yeah, really? It was really good. Yeah.
So what do they smoke it? Oh.
Yeah. And you know how like salmon's pink?
Yeah.
This is more the way they smoke it. It kind of cook, I guess, because it's a slow cooking process. Right. It's not pink, and it's hard to describe. It's more kind of like grayish, but man, was it good. It was tremendous.
Barbecued ribs and all that kind of stuff. Chicken.
Yeah. So, and then this week, obviously, Thursday is Veterans Day. In fact, as soon as I get done here, I got to run down to Prudential because we have an event for the team. We have a 2:45 ice slot. We're going to run a practice, and we're going to take the team for dinner, and then we're going across back to the rink to see Devils and Islanders play. In 2019, what they did was we lined up on the blue line with the Devils for the national anthem.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we had a Devil, a Warrior, Devil, a Warrior. So it's pretty cool. I assume that's going to be the same protocol this week, and so that's what's going on for the team this week. I know you're going to be marching in the Veterans Parade with the Rangers. Right?
Yeah, real quick. I just want to make sure people understand that haven't watched the show before. Mark's group is the New Jersey Warriors. It's all veterans. They've got other chapters around the country. They played this tournament, so it's a great cause, helping guys, get back like the teamwork thing that they missed. It helps with PTSD, being out in the ice and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so it's a therapeutic environment, and we share the game of hockey, but it's not about the hockey. Yeah. I mean, you can kind of get wrapped up in it, but
that's why it's so cool that you guys, volunteered to forfeit the win. It's
I mean, I didn't even know the woman, man, and I was shook because it's just the furthest thing you expect to happen, Totally.
Yes. So on Thursday, I have the honor. The Rangers have selected me to represent them in the Veterans Day Parade in Manhattan. John Starks and I from the New York Knicks will be there. We've done a few events together. We actually did 9/11 breakfast together at the firehouse. So he's a real good guy, really well spoken, fun guy, and everything. So yeah, I'm fired up about going down there for this Veterans Day Parade. Yeah. It's like you and I, and you've been great to me to involve me in a lot of stuff too. It's I think the more things you do, the more things you see that is needed to help veterans, current military personnel.
Yeah, no question. I mean, it really drives home. We can never understand, you or I, what they've been through.
Yeah.
But we can certainly empathize and try to do what we can do to help these men and women out.
Isn't that true? It's one of those things you can't say to somebody in the military, listen, I know how you're feeling, unless you've been in the military, right? We've never fought like that, risked our lives like that. Yeah.
So your name came up yesterday.
What'd I do?
Yeah, no, it was in a good light. So I told you I was doing a tactical day down with Bill Brown and Kenny Bigby and a couple guys, and we had some law enforcement. This place was really cool. So it was pretty close to where I was staying for Philly anyhow. It's a huge property. I mean, I don't know how many, hundreds and hundreds of acres. and they have Connex boxes and like cities built up. So we were doing hostage rescue. We were hostage rescue. We were doing clearing rooms, breaching rooms, and so during lunch, Kenny Bigby held court. He was telling some Bigby, Bill Brown stories from going through buds together with David Goggins, and I would tell the stories, but I can't do the same justice that Kenny does when he tells a story.
Oh, he's good.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah,
and of course, when Kenny and we spent the whole day together instructing these guys, and a lot of a couple breaks here, and we start talking. It was just different techniques and stuff for combat, and he of course brought up the Tom Laidlaw left hand to Picard's jaw story, where it was the one.
He loved that.
Yeah. Because we were talking about like Bill apparently through buds, Bill Brown would knock a guy out every other day.
Oh,
and that's how we got to the one punch knockout story with Tom Laidlaw.
That's so funny because as you and that's the thing about Kenny and most of these Navy SEAL guys and other military guys, they've been through stuff like we talked before. The fights, we fight in hockey. It's a fist fight. Maybe you break your nose, maybe get a tooth knockout. Or worst case scenario, you get knocked out. But these guys are fighting for their life, right? So. Kenny and I had done a few shows together. We met each other at the Swim Across the Hudson. Fantastic guy. And he was one of the lead guys. And again, they all do it. But when they speak to you, like they really, like they're paying attention to the conversation. They're not taking the attitude, listen, I know everything. I'm a Navy SEAL. They're always looking to learn from everything. We had this conversation one time, and I know I've told a story where I compare closing the gap. So this, Mark, but closing the gap in terms of hockey, if you're the defensive player and the offensive player is coming at you, you want to keep as little space between you two as possible. You want to close that gap, not let him do what he wants to do. And I told Kenny on a show that we did, I said, that's the same in life, that you're going to have problems that you have to face. And don't wait for the problems to dictate the pace of what's going to happen. You dictate the pace as best you can. And he loved that saying. He says he talks about it all the time. And since that, we've kind of hit it off pretty good. And I had posted the picture. Again, my first National Hockey League game after training camp was in Boston, shot the puck at my own net. Second game was in Toronto. And now I'm still thinking, I haven't been told I made the team yet officially. And Freddie Shiro, the tough Philadelphia Flyer coach and everything. So this Robert Picard butt ended me in front of our bench, and the bench jumped up. And I remember thinking, the thought went through my head like in half a second. I'm thinking, if I don't do something about this right now, I'm not going to play in the National Hockey League. So I did. Poor Robert Picard. I didn't give him a shot at all. I just stood up and just dropped him with the left hand. And once Kenny saw it, he goes, "That's the best punch I've ever seen." That was incredible. So
he's still talking about it.
That's funny.
Still talking about it. It's funny too because, Bill, as a rough and tumble and hard guy, Bill is. He's a very spiritual guy. So before we started, he did a prayer, and then he made us all, even the instructors, explain why we're there. What's your purpose for being here today? And I basically said, even though I'm quote unquote an instructor here, I want to leave today learning something I didn't know before I got here. Yeah.
That's a great thing about life too, right? And you and I think we both kind of live that life. I've certainly learned to live that life more, where I always want to learn something. Every time I interact with somebody, I feel like I got the opportunity to learn from them, right? You can never stop learning. Yeah, I agree. Absolutely.
And it's funny, we ran, we did it kind of a city kind of environment run through. So I was up with this guy by the name of Joe, who was an Army Ranger. We were up above. We had high ground in one of the Connex boxes. So there were 3 windows and then a door.
Mark, sorry to interrupt you. When you say a Connex box, what is that?
A shipping container.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And they got them out. And so anyway, so we were using simunition guns, which shoot a projectile. They, like you got to wear a face mask.
Right.
And they sting a bit. Like I still got a couple welts where I got hit.
Right.
But what's amazing about it is, so Joe and I are up there, and Kenny's around the corner, and he's giving us hand signals, and he's shooting and stuff like that. Even though it's simunition or fake bullets, so to speak, your heart rate is completely jacked.
Yeah.
And I tried doing combat breathing,
right,
and I come to find out it's not so easy. Like when you're sitting in your office upstairs at 5 a.m., you could really get into like a Zen moment. It's difficult. So we're doing this run through. Joe's out the back. He's holding suppressing fire. And a freaking grenade comes through the window and lands like 6 feet from my feet. And it explodes, but there's no fragments, but it goes off pretty hard.
Right.
And it's like, all right, I'd be gone. I would be certainly not talking anymore. But
Isn't it amazing? Like you try to put yourself, like part of you wants to try to experience the real life action of being in war, but then the other part is like, how would I react? Right?
No,
Like,
and I have to say and I've done a few of these, and you came one time when we're using live rounds, even though we're not shooting at each other, it's still, because it's live rounds, we've got to really be super, super cognizant of everything.
Right.
But even with the, we still have the same protocol, port up, never downrange and all that kind of stuff, because you have to get in the habit of it.
Yeah, it's true.
In fact, I always tell a famous story, like when I do knife training. So if we're teaching knife disarms, which isn't a real thing, but it could happen. It's very unlikely. But if you run a drill and you get a knife off of somebody, you don't hand it back to them.
Right.
Because when you run hundreds of reps doing that in real life, guess what happens? You hand the weapon back to the person.
Yeah.
And so we lay it on the ground. And it actually happened to a law enforcement guy where he was practicing gun disarm. So if a bad guy came around, had a gun, he practiced getting it off him. Thousands of times, became really good. Well, the first time he was breaching a room, he came around a corner, there was a gun, he grabbed it, and he handed it back to the dude. Just because his mind was wired, because he's done it so many, handing it back. He was fortunate enough to realize what he did and got it back and survived. But anyhow, that's like one of the nuances of the kind of training we were doing.
We're doing all this veteran stuff. Imagine, like we were talking about, is like being that young 18, 19-year-old kid. Let's say it's Vietnam, you're drafted, you really didn't understand, didn't know, didn't want to be there necessarily. Maybe you did. And, we talk about the bravery and everything. And you first, like at that age or at any age, when you first go over there and you enter into a battle with someone that's trying to kill you, that's their mission. They're trying to kill you.
Yeah.
Man,
that's what I mean. Even though I knew yesterday this was, not lethal force, just the mindset, and you're trying to look for guys coming around the corner, coming up the stairs. It was pretty cool.
I remember we did that tactical training, and Bill's son, Bill Brown's son, was right beside me. So I would shoot first. He was to my left. So he's holding the gun, but it's facing my back. And he was unloading. So all the empty shells, all the brass was coming out of his gun, hitting me in the back. And I just had a T-shirt on, and they're hot, right? They're just
yeah.
And I remember the son, after we were done the exercise, he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Tom. I'm sorry." I said, "Oh no, it felt cool. That was unbelievable. Like it was burning, but it felt like a cool burn, because it really felt like you're really
you're in a firefight."
Yeah.
Well, yesterday, one of the main things we're trying to get across is what they call blue on blue, where it's a friendly fire incident.
Right.
And I'll give you a real good example, easy one that for everybody can understand. So if I'm in a crouch position and you're on my 6, meaning behind me, if you're going to fire over my head, before you do, you place your hand really strong on my shoulder, down, and press down and say, "I'm about to fire." Because many times what will happen, and it's happened in the past, I've seen video, it's horrible, but the man who's crouching will hear gunshots go off, and he'll stand up and he'll take one from his own guy. So we were really working on a lot of great things yesterday. And
so who else? Was there a lot of police officers and everything participating in?
Yes. So there were police officers that participated, SWAT team members, because that's pretty specific to what we were doing, like what they call breaching a room. So there's a bad guy or 2 bad guys in a room, and you've got to go through the door, and you have strong corners, and there's absolutely a technique to increase your survivability to it.
So this is something they did separately from the police force. They did
correct. Yeah. So what the agency will do is pay us to do this for them, because they know it's valuable.
Right.
And
well, as you know, I'm a huge supporter of the police, but don't you think that's something that all police should be required?
Well, that's a problem, and I don't want to get you and I stay away from politics, but the whole defund the police thing, most of these agencies don't have the luxury to send their men and women to something like we did yesterday, because they don't have any money. And so that's why sometimes, I'll do the other seminars we don't charge. It's Adopt a Cop with Mitch. He is a big promoter of getting. So here's a perfect thing, and I think I mentioned this before, whether it's law enforcement or athletics. I did a really intensive 2-day seminar, so to speak, in July with a guy out of Buffalo, Jay Wadsworth, who's an incredible instructor, 20 years plus SWAT experience. And when we did the debrief at the end of the 2 days, he said, "Remember this, the moment you walk out that door, you begin to get worse," meaning you got to keep up with your training. There's a lot of stuff that you and I could do on our own free time, like weapon retention and things like that. But you got to work it. It's like anything else. If you don't skate and you don't shoot pucks, and it goes away.
Joseph Rosario, one of our listeners, he got in late. So where did that training take place again?
We did this one, Joe, down in what was the name of the town? Pemberton, I believe. Yeah, Pemberton, New Jersey. It's probably like 20 to a half hour outside of Philly. But if you're interested, we'll make sure that everybody's aware if anybody's interested in doing the next one we do, for sure.
And again, Joseph, I had to be corrected too. He is the chief of the Pelham Manor fire station.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing. My father was a firefighter as well, and he'd taken that up later on in life. I think I was like 15 years old when he sold the farm and became a firefighter. And it's interesting because he went off to all the firefighter school. Now he wanted to be a chief, which he ultimately became a district chief. But the preparation, like continually staying on top of things, because you're not always going to be able to do the things that you practice, right? So,
and also the other part of it, and Joseph, if you feel free to link up with me personally, if you have any questions or whatever, I'd be more than happy to fill you in on everything we're doing. One of the things also, Tom, things change, like technique changes. Like the initial way I learned how to perform weapon retention, which means somebody's going to grab your handgun. It's changed. There's a better way to do it now. So now we're teaching the new version of it. So things always kind of, it's good to also have different options because not everything's contextual. Not everything's going to go. Even things that go bad don't happen the same way all the time.
And things like weren't the police in the past, in most cases, were allowed to do a chokehold. Now they're not allowed to do a chokehold.
Yeah, well, that's state by state, but in general, yeah, I know in New Jersey, if you're trying to control somebody on the ground, you cannot put your knee above their belt line on their back. It has to be below the belt line.
Oh, wow.
So, it's another thing they have to think of, which could get them hurt, but that's what it is. You want to keep, when you're any kind of survival skill, whether it's for just general public or whether it's law enforcement or military, is that you have to have threat recognition to be able to see the threat instantly and have a subconscious reaction of competence. So in other words, if somebody's coming at me with a knife, I know how to frame out and tie them up. I don't think about it. It's a 2-piece or 3-piece move. We're not going to do something complicated. It's a gross motor skill.
Yeah. We got a guy, I can't remember his name now. I met him about 3 or 4 years ago. He was a police officer out in Long Island, and he practices all the jujitsu and posts a lot of stuff. And he shows videos of other people that maybe hadn't done jujitsu
and made a mistake.
Yeah. And you can tell that because they were trained, they were safer. And even the funny thing is, even the criminal or suspected criminal is safer then too, because it doesn't become a life or death situation.
Exactly. So when it relates to law enforcement, when we're teaching all these techniques, especially the safety and compliance techniques, where you're trying to handcuff somebody, trying to get somebody out of a building or somebody into a car, there's 3 levels or 3 areas that we're concerned with. First one is the safety of the law enforcement officer, that he goes home. The second one, believe it or not, is the safety of the criminal, right? And then the third thing we think about or we talk about is liability. We don't want to open up the department to any liability. So those are the 3 factors. But most people don't understand that. We're really training guys not to hurt the criminal, just to make them compliant and make sure they're in a safe environment, and then let the courts take care of it. Of course, sometimes it's, there's a lethal force level that reaches that you have to react to. But that's what we teach, and that's what we're trying to accomplish.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. I can't stop thinking, I don't know why I'm so fired up about this parade they're marching in on.
That's really cool, man. Yeah.
But it's such an honor too, right? To be like a Veterans Day parade. And
sure.
I think I told you when John Starks and I actually were at that 9/11, we had a breakfast this past 9/11. And there's I'm going to get straight, high-ranking general or something there. And just like a total gentleman too. Like we've actually kept in touch. He gave me his card and everything. We kept in touch. And, but they're pretty funny though too. I shouldn't say funny, but there's a group of people around, and we get pictures taken together. And they had one young guy that would go around and make sure that he knew who was in the picture with this high-ranking
to be able to,
to keep a record of it and everything.
Oh,
so, yeah, he's a pretty cool guy. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But go ahead, Tom.
So what's going on with the training world? You got a lot of stuff going on, training other people and everything?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always doing, so boxing is another thing that I'm involved with. And I got some clients at the box and some, people that just, I have a corporate account where it's just general fitness. And then of course, all the law enforcement and then the hockey end of it, which is, that's a volunteer thing, but still takes up a lot of time.
We were talking about a show before with Kevin Allen, with all this stuff going on in Chicago with the abuse case,
Oh,
and
God.
Pittsburgh with all that. And for me to coach, I know I told you I'm going to be assistant women's coach with the high school.
You got to take the safety first program or
Yeah,
whatever.
and it was really an eye opener, and it was a reporting module
Sure.
too. Who needs to report, when you need to report, and all those things. And it was really interesting tying it into these things that just happened. And the way they do it here in Connecticut is, and I'm sure it's the same in most states, is that there's really no option. It doesn't matter what your position is, whether you're an assistant coach.
You have to report it.
Right. You need to report it. There's a timetable when to report it. There's forms to use and all that kind of stuff. And I really thought that was really, given the way things happened, especially while both Pittsburgh and Chicago, where that was the issue. Right? I mean, first of all, you don't want the abuse to happen. But secondly, then when people come to report it and it's not reported properly, not only does that case not get handled properly, but now it starts sending a message to other people that
it's not going to be reported.
Yeah, these people went and reported and nothing happened, right?
Yeah.
That's a big part of what's going on too.
No question. Yeah. And then I think now more than ever, we have to really be careful, even how we talk to players, what words we're using, because we don't, you got to be sensitive to it. And I think the overarching thing is it's a good thing,
Yeah, totally.
because you and I both know we've known players in the past that for whatever reason, the coach just wrote them harder than they should have, or maybe players were a little bit, prejudiced and they're speaking to them, and it's got to be controlled.
Yeah, and not every young person or people it handles those kinds of things the same. And we shouldn't judge somebody if they can't. Now, I think I've told the story. My junior B coach, Rick Hay, if I didn't have him as a coach, I wouldn't have played in the National Hockey League. But when we went to do breakout drills, man, he would get on me, and honest to God, I still get sick to my stomach now thinking about this. But he was doing it because he cared about me, and he thought
there's a difference for sure. Right. Yeah, I mean,
but at the same time, there were some kids that maybe wouldn't have handled it as well, but that doesn't mean they're not as tough or whatever.
Right.
Didn't deal with that stuff as well.
As far as coaching goes, there's a great saying, and I like it. Speaking about a coach, he's a hard guy. He's hard on you, but he's fun to play for.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Because as long as you know when you're a player that the coach wants you to get the best,
be the best you can. Yeah,
the best person and best player. Right. And if the coach is just being a jerk to be a jerk, or he's trying to, like, again, I've talked about it so many times. I'm not a fan. I like the Mike Babcocks and the Ken Hitchcocks and those guys that coached in the National Hockey, because I don't think they really were trying to get the best out of the players in most cases. It was them trying to look as good as possible.
They can.
Yeah. And that's the problem I have with it. But
Well, I think coaching should be like referees. You shouldn't even notice them.
Yeah.
It's the players.
Yeah.
And one of the good things I heard too, because I've done, like you, I'm sure, bazillion seminars for hockey and whatnot, to let the players understand that practice time is my time. I'm the coach. I'm running practice. Game time is your time. Go out there, have fun. I'm just going to manage the bench.
Yeah.
This is your time to shine. Practice is my time to shine.
And that's excellent. To me, that's excellent coaching, because the coaching should be done at practice, where you're teaching them how you want to play the game, how they need to react, how they should make their own decisions out there that coincide with the team structure and everything. Yeah, when you hit the game, like, I hate it when I see coaches yelling from the bench too much. There's sometimes, yes, you yell a little bit to help them out, but if they're playing the game just because they're listening to you and that's how they make.
I think the yelling, there should be a difference between, if you're yelling for discipline, that's okay. If you're yelling as a coaching tool, then it's not okay.
Yeah, totally.
And guys know if they miss an assignment, they come back to the bench. You don't have to tell them; they know.
Yeah, nowadays in the National Hockey League, it's amazing. Like, I watched Sidney Crosby. When he comes back to the bench, he's constantly grabbing the iPad and watching the play. Yep. And that was something most guys, we didn't like living that way. We wanted to look forward. So, okay, whatever happened in that past shift, yes, you want to get corrected and learn things from it, but you got to get ready for the next shift. But it certainly works for him. So I guess.
He did all right.
Yeah, we'll do it. Although the time we were talking before too about Pittsburgh, they've had a real hard time with COVID.
Yes. Yeah.
Coaches out. Yeah.
I don't know why, but yeah, it's crazy.
What's your take? Have you followed the Aaron Rodgers situation there in Green Bay with his?
Yeah, it's unfortunate because everybody's entitled to their own position. And as you know, as a professional athlete, you don't have your own position because it becomes public.
Yeah.
If I tell my neighbor something, no one's going to know about it. You do it, it's a different story. Yeah.
I guess the thing is, I'm the same way, but the problem I'm having with him, and I actually like him too, because he's a different guy and he speaks his mind. I mean, it's just that if he didn't want to get vaccinated, don't like he's saying I didn't lie. I said I got immunized. Well, but that's that's different. Just say, okay, I'm not getting vaccinated. I don't have to explain it. Then therefore I follow. And this thing I didn't realize that in the NFL, anyways, that if you're not getting vaccinated, okay, that's fine, but then you need to follow a different set of protocols to make sure.
Correct.
So I think that's the problem.
And hopefully, I think with this new medication that came out, I think I'm praying anyhow that within the next few months, the whole COVID world we're living in is going to really be greatly diminished.
Yeah. Let's hope. So there's only one player left, Tyler Bertuzzi in the National Hockey League, that has not gotten vaccinated yet.
Yeah.
And it's tough. I kind of admire him in one way, but so he can't go into Canada. The team is doing pretty well. They're above 500. I think one game above 500, and the 3 games have gone into Canada. So he can't play in it. He's
it's like the kid on the Nets. He can't play in Brooklyn. He can play everywhere else, but he can't play in Brooklyn.
And that's a weird one too, because visiting teams can come into Brooklyn.
Correct.
And not be vaccinated.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. It's nuts.
Yeah, definitely. Well, another great show. Hey, you're. I know I don't need to tell you this, but stuff like you did this weekend with the New Jersey Warriors and all that. I'm totally proud of you, my friend. It's fantastic stuff. And then even out helping the military with their training as well is fantastic. So, good job by you as usual.
Well, it keeps me out of trouble at home with Beth.
Well, definitely, it probably does give her a break, right? She probably finds all these things.
I said, listen, I'm going away for 4 days. Get all the Hallmark movies out. I know you're watching Virgin River on Netflix. Get it out of your system. All right.
Now, the big question is, did you wear a shirt when you're doing any of this? Like, you're probably on the bench with no shirt.
I'm going away now to Prudential, do an interview for the thing, and I'm going to take the shirt off. Of course.
Yeah. Put the sandals on and everything. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, brother. Good to see you again. Very proud of you. Good job. See you everybody next week.
Bye-bye.